How's everybody doing? It's nice to see you here. What a gorgeous day out there.
Are those Mayflowers?
So Deb brought those in
They
this
grow in
morning.
my backyard. They're kind of like, they come up in a little bulb like a crocus flower.
Oh, okay.
And then that daffodil.
This one here? Oh, this
No,
is
the
a daffodil.
Those ones look like Mayflowers, but yeah, they're bigger.
So we still have some remnants from the Easter service. The Easter lilies
Oh, so
thrive, and we had 15 blooms on Easter Sunday. So we still have some left here. I'm trying to keep Donna and I have been watering it carefully. And these are what's left over the Easter flowers on the altar. These are the survivors. They made it into the middle of April. Just little guys. And Fred was asking what kind of flowers those are. And I,
Hyacinths, aren't they? Hyacinths.
okay. Well, it's great to see everyone here. And Christoph, thank you for filming the service today as our cameraman. And, oh, hey guys, it's nice to have Teddy here. And you guys, come on in, we're just getting the camera rolling, so you guys are good. We'll give you a second.
Sure.
So this morning, we even turned off the fireplace stove because it was too warm. Someone wanted to open a window. So that is a good sign this season. So I gave a go-ahead. Okay, we'll shut it down, we'll save some money on propane, and get a little fresh air. If anyone's too cold, well,
Too bad.
yeah. I saw a notation in last year's service on Earth Day, and it was so cool. I was wearing my black vest under my suit jacket to keep warm on this side of the room. So I don't know what that was all about, but I had my vest on. Yes, it's one of the holy vestments. Okay, Christoph, are you still plugged in? That didn't sound.
I think so. It's just plastic. It's okay. We're still running.
We're ready. Good morning and welcome to our UU Holton Sunday Service online edition, coming to you from the Unitarian Parlor right here in Holton, Maine. Since this is Earth Day weekend, we are celebrating Earth Day number 54 in today's service. It started in 1970. As well as continuing our series on belonging with part 10 on the topic of best practices. Best practices are a system of behaviors and values that support belongingness in a group. Best practices provide a shared vocabulary and helps facilitate the development as well as the participation in community, no matter what its size. So that's what we have in store for you today. We want to thank each of you for being here in person or at home and for spending part of your day right here. Our prelude this morning is by Pink Martini and is titled Heliotrope Bouquet. It's a natural turning towards the sun with diurnal motion of plants and flowers. And it can't be helped. It's an innate pull towards the warmth and sunlight this time of year in spring. Pink Martini. moment of centering silence this morning, let us pause, relax into the space of here and now. Drop whatever may have been filling up your week to this point, and allow on this Sunday morning of spring to just allow that to dissolve and to be present in this moment, in this space. This is Earth Day, so our tradition is we dig out the Earth flag once a year for this special service. So it's on the wall today. And our opening words come from Carl Sagan's The Pale Blue Dot. And inside your bulletin, you'll see there's an interesting little diagram of the opening, the most famous portion of the Blue Dot lecture that he delivered at Cornell. It's very difficult to read the small wrapping words, very poetic as it's in the pale blue dot. So I will read those for you this morning. Look again at that dot. That's here. That's home. That's us. On it, everyone you love, everyone you know, everyone you've ever heard of, every human being who has ever lived out their lives, the aggregate of our joy and suffering. Thousands of confident religions, ideologies, and economic doctrines, every hunter and forager, every hero and coward, every creator and destroyer of civilization, every king and peasant, every young couple in love, every mother and father, hopeful child, inventor and explorer, every teacher of morals, every corrupt politician, every superstar, every supreme leader, every saint and sinner in the history of our species lived there on a mote of dust suspended in a sunbeam. The Milky Way galaxy is one of billions, perhaps hundreds of billions of galaxies, notable neither in mass nor in brightness, nor in how its stars are configured or arrayed. Some modern deep sky photographs show more galaxies beyond the Milky Way than stars within the Milky Way. Every one of them is an island universe containing perhaps billions of stars and suns. Such an image is a profound sermon on humility. It's been said that astronomy is a humbling and character-building experience. There's perhaps no better demonstration of the folly of human conceits than this distant image of our tiny world. To me, it underscores our responsibility to deal more kindly with one another and to preserve and cherish this pale blue dot, the only home we know. So let us light our chalice this morning. Jess, have you done this before?
Yes.
Would you like to do it again?
Sure.
This is Earth Day, so come right down. The matchstick is ready in the holder. We light the chalice today in appreciation of this world that we inhabit, this mote of dust suspended in a sunbeam. May we cherish it May we work hard to maintain it. May we find joy in sharing. Teddy's all ready to sing, so we're going to join her. And this has become a traditional Earth Day song, number 38. But Cat Stevens is the one who made it famous. In hymn books for years. Morning has broken, and we are going to sing all verses. You may stand as you are able, or remain seated, and look at your chord. Morning has broken, like the first morning, blackbird has spoken, like the first bird. Praise for the singing, praise for the morning, praise for the springing, fresh from the word. Sweet the rain's new fall, stumbling from heaven, like the first dew fall on the first grass. Praise for the sweetness of the wet garden, sprung in completeness where God's feet pass. Mine is the sunlight, mine is the morning, born of the one light, Eden's soft play. Praise with elation, praise every morning, God's great creation of the new day. So we're doing something a little different today. Not that. Maybe we'll come back to that later. So this is a video meditation we're going to watch first, titled Hello Sadness by Erin Bullock, and backed up by the Blue Cliff Monastery Ensemble. And I apologize for the size of this video. It's going to match my phone. And apparently my browser does not allow me to expand this particular video. But you'll hear the audio very well. So I apologize for the technical drawback here. And we're going to couple this as a practice with our candles of joys and concern this morning. So we're going to listen to it and watch a very small version of it on the screen. And then I'll tell you how this works.
Hello, sadness. I know you're there in me, and I
send the link out this week so you can watch it on your computer, a little larger to look at. So what I've done is I've written out the lyrics, combined those verses into a reading, and this is what it sounds like. Hello sadness, hello anger, hello fear. I know you're there in me, and I can clearly see where you come from. Hello, old friend. I'll make a space inside my heart, this warm embrace for you. And I also feel the joy, as well as the love, the calm, the laughter, the compassion, the peace. And I also have the mindfulness for all of these. I have a mindfulness for all of these. So I will move on. And I went ahead and made a little 5-step practice meditation out of this. And it can be used in any context, but we're going to experiment this morning with our own candles of joys and concern, the ritual we have here. And this comes out of a Buddhist tradition of mindfulness practice, of recognizing all the guests that appear at your door of human emotions, the full scale, the joys and the challenges, the light and the dark. And in Buddhist meditation, you observe, open a space, take a close look at it, feel it, experience it, it'll move on. Sometimes it sticks a little while, you just observe that. But it's a very inclusive exercise of no matter what the human emotion is, it's one of those small seeds that become activated or triggered by something in our life for a moment, and it comes up. And this practice is you don't run away from it, you don't yell at it. There's one image of you invite it in for a cup of tea. You open the door and invite it into your heart space to take a close look at, to embrace it as a friend, as part of your own emotional and spiritual composition, as well as all the positive traits. Recognition, and then moving on with the rest of your day. Having experienced perhaps some intensity in those moments, whatever comes up. But it's crucial to have that balance and inclusion of all of that emotional landscape in our own personal life and to work with that. And it flowers into peace, calm, all the, as a plant pulls it out from compost and the dirt and the mud, all those negative and positive qualities combined create a whole balanced life. So it's 5-step practice. Number 1 is recognition of just watching to see what comes up. Number 2, and I'll send these out, you don't have to write them down. Number 2 is invitation to the open space. And 3, which is more difficult, is actually inclusion, or embracing that friend, difficult or pleasant. And step 4, this whole process is the close watch mindfulness, care and awareness of your own self and what's around you. And number 5, carry on with a balance or more positive or a readjustment of perspective, and very grounded in your own life. However difficult or chaotic that might be, you can still feel a sense of, oh, this is where I'm at on this day, and I feel the support and nurture of the full mix that might be coming my way as the day goes on. So it's a personal practice done by oneself, but it can also be a group practice to see what comes up as we share candles of joys and concern. Each one is from the group, and we bring the same group awareness as we listen. Things could be triggered for us, or at least we hear a piece of what's going on for someone else that we can follow up on in a conversation, a coffee hour, or during the week, a telephone call. or it brings community closer together with that open sharing, depending how it's modeled. Some groups, it'll just be very surface, nice day, something about that's happened. But oftentimes sharing can go deep, and the group holds that together in that space. And we say a little prayer of recognition, that's kind of the inclusion and mindful awareness, and we move on with the rest of our week. So, I'm going to light the first candle. Get a couple. Linda and I are not going to be here next week. Her mother's celebration of life service is this coming Friday down in North Berwick. So we'll be going down this week on Wednesday. So I brought a photograph of Linda and her mom. It looks like it must have been an Easter Sunday a couple of years back, taken in my mother's kitchen. I guess we had both our mother-in-laws and mothers there for Easter Sunday. So they're going on the altar today. And this is a candle for the passing of my dear friend, Chuck. Charles Dunning passed away yesterday. Several of you know him. He's done work at the church. He's been our sexton, janitor, lawn care man. And he passed away quietly yesterday. I was able to be there at the home. So this is Chuck's picture, taken recently. We'll be having a small service here at some point during the spring for Elaine and Buffy. So you'll hear more about that as we go on. So let's light candles this morning.
This is a candle of joy for birthday. And many of you may know that I am a writer, I'm an author, and I have 3 new releases to share with you. This first one, you may remember that Sarah Regent and I did a church service once on mandalas, and it resulted in my writing this book. It's for young adults, and the book is all about friendships, building friendships, and the importance of mandalas in our lives. And although it is a young adult book, I think my books all can be enjoyed as all children's books can be by adults as well. And all of these books you can find at the Cary Library, so if you're interested in taking them out, they will be there. So I have the Mandala Club that Sarah Regent was very involved at that point. Bill and I have a son whose hobby is to fly drones. And I've learned all about drones through my son. It's a whole new world. Drones have many uses, and I've learned a lot about them from exploring drones along with my son. Drones can even be used to plant crops. So they have, that's just one example of the use. And on my cover, I don't know if you can spot the drone, but my characters in this book are Drone Boy and Drone Girl. And yeah, probably a very teenagery thing, but you learn a lot about drones through this. This is our son flying his drones. And one day he put the equipment on me so I could see what it felt like. So there's a picture of me wearing his equipment, And he's so good at flying these drones, he can fly them through the house, down into the basement, and just sit there, look at everything from that viewpoint. So that's another book that I just finished. And then a few years ago, I started this mystery series. And the main character is a limnologist. It's a very environmental career, and if you don't know what a limnologist is or does, ask Bill. Ask my husband, Bill. So the main character in this is a limnologist, and it is a mystery. And I just finished the second in this series. I have a cousin who is 92 years old now, and she's been a big influence on my life. And she encouraged me to write the second book because she wanted to know what happened to the couple that I introduced in the first book. So this is my second book called The Dog-Eared Millennial Mystery. And I have a subtitle, it's Dogs Wanting a Home. And this was very influenced by a grandniece I had who was in an accident about 5 years ago. At the age of 19, she was struck by a pickup truck, and she nearly lost her leg. She nearly had to have a prosthetic leg, which might be something she has to have done in the future, but the good news is she didn't have to have, prosthesis applied, but she's able to ski and has had a wonderful recovery. She's a big influence in my character development, and she now works for an agency where they adopt dogs. And so this book is very full of a lot of things, but one thing is the relationship we have with our pets, the many different relationships we can have with them. And it also includes the major character. Remember, she's a limnologist, so you learn about how the Great Lakes were formed. And so I bring in a lot of factual things in my story. So anyway, these will all be at the Terry Library if you're interested. And they're all self-published, so I publish through a company called Lulu, L-U-L-U. And I like that because I'm a very independent person, and I design the covers and do all the editing and all of that. So it's a lot of fun for me.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thanks for help supporting me. Of course, being interested.
When's the book tour, then?
Yeah, book tour. I don't know. I'm busy into the next one.
Gratitude and joy. Every time I come up, I talk about this transition and how different my life is now than how it used to be. And to be able to experience that with y'all and to have such a beautiful, blossoming family that we're growing here together, and memories, and being able to be authentic and genuine, and being able to be cared for, and to feel the compassion from my peers, y'all. I just feel very blessed.
This is a candle of gratefulness, thankfulness for Christoph and Donna's hard work. If you look at the yard, how nice everything looks, the parking lot, and there may be others involved in it, and I don't know who they are, so if anybody does, you could say their names. But thank you so much, Christoph. It is noticed how work you do.
We put one on for birthday
joy that just being here gives us. So thank you all for also giving us a home here. And we'll miss Chuck. That's a tough one. And but thank you for everything, and thanks for spring and the nice weather.
This is a candle of questions. First of all, congratulations to Betty, who as a young senior is doing creative things. And are the smaller books able to be purchased from you, Betty?
Yes, all the books are available, and they're printed on demand,
Okay.
which is why I feel they're environmentally sound, because people order the books and they are printed on demand rather than having a surplus of books out
Okay.
there. So
Right, I'll
yes,
talk to you after.
sure.
And the other is, for Earth Day, just a question. For an old couple, what things can we do at home without being too drastic to help our Earth? If any of you have ideas, maybe we can just jot down somewhere and give some practical things to help. Every little bit helps, that's what we're told. So we feel a great urgency to do something. Save our Mother Earth.
My grandma planted a tree once a year. There's a lot of trees out there.
Be mindful of the chemicals you're using.
I'm going to use Earth Day as a plug, Dale, because we're talking about next year's theme as we move on from this year's. May involve a lot of these environmental, climate issues, sustainability, things we can do as a group. So a lot of great workshops. I know we have people here who have backgrounds in these areas. So more on that later. This was just a short commercial. This is the candle to welcome Randy and Ira into today's service, good friends of mine. And actually, well, you might recognize them from a coffee house. They've been here several times. Ira's been on stage, and we're going to be working together on a service May 7th. Ira and I, the two of us, he's going to provide the music, and maybe a little chatting in between. Maybe we'll do some
Careful what you wish for.
Okay.
You can see there.
And this is a silent candle today, in the unspoken prayers, thoughts that are unarticulated, but that you carry with you. And for family, friends, and any names you would like to speak today to include in our Earth Day service and in our circle of compassion.
Cricket Corley,
Lucas.
Kevin, David,
Christopher.
Lance, Sean.
Paul.
For those concerns, these names mentioned this morning, we hold them in the light of love and compassion and mindfulness. May all beings everywhere with whom we are inseparably interconnected be fulfilled, awakened, and free. May there be space in our heart for peace in this world. May there be peace in our shared and wonderful world, and may we dwell together as one on this planet. Amen, and blessed be. So today's topic is on best practices, part 10 of our ongoing series. It seems like an awfully lot of episodes, but we've made it so far to part 10. So here are some examples of not so best practices from the humorous little book titled "Letting Go is All We Have to hold on to, written by comedian philosopher Greg Eisenberg, especially for people in recovery from the self-help industry. So here's a few samples. Take my advice and think for yourself. Did you get that? Okay. I'm not super proud. Number 2. I'm extremely patient and loving with everyone, up to the point when someone gets on my nerves. You are a terrible listener, but I bet you hear that all the time. And I'm only using 5% of my brain's mental capacity, but that's okay. I'm only taking out the garbage. So for today's session, we're looking at best practices and trying to raise your brain's mental capacity by at least a couple of percentage points, perhaps getting into the double digits. So in the bulletin, you'll see there's a short description of today's service on best practices as a system of behaviors and values that support belongingness in a group. And what we're trying to do is create a vocabulary, a shared vocabulary that we can use during this series this year and in years to come. People will remember some of the terminology, things from Cohen's book on belonging, that will assist us in adding to and building a culture of community, shared values, and when a term comes up, could be a possibility of recognition. Like, oh, I've heard that somewhere before. So this is where the worksheet comes in today, providing 5 terms that are related to best practices. And the background of this comes from a series of services and workshops I did at the Fredericton UU Church maybe 8 to 10 years ago. And they were interested in looking at covenant and what's involved in that and agreements and developing a culture of belongingness and inclusion in their congregation. So this is where this worksheet comes from that. Some of the materials, we've been using Cohen's book a great degree this year, and now starting to pull in some things from this Fredericton workshop. And on the bottom, you'll see the Don't Panic button from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. And they were at a key point in their group history. They've been in church for years, and the inevitable ups and downs of trying to keep an organization viable financially, and to have people attending, and communication, and having shared language and values. And part of it was it's important to don't panic during that process. When they called me from Frederick to Holton, they were essentially hitting the panic button, say, Dave, come on over and see what you can do. And I'm not sure how much I did, but I did come up with some worksheets and some workshops and some material. And we're not going to spend a lot of time on this today. You can take this home and look at it a bit. Each one of these 5 points would be a talk or a lecture in itself. So we're not going to do that. But I do want to spend a little time on the term social capital. And this is a term that came out, Dr. Robert Putnam. This is actually turned into a classic. It came out 20 years ago now, in 2001, Bowling Alone. The title is The Collapse and Revival of American Community, looking at civic organizations, and that people weren't a metaphor, and to market his book, had come from a great title, Bowling Alone, with the decline of bowling leagues in America from their peak in the 1950s and 60s. And it's full of research, data, charts, and I came across a New York Times article last week, and they were quoting this book and saying that they were revisiting this post-COVID after 20 years. Does this book still hold up? And it really does. It's very timely. So listen to this definition of social capital, and Dan, would you read this for us? Well, actually, the whole section, this is the only part we're gonna read today. Yeah, the whole section.
Okay.
Okay. Go when you're ready.
Social capital. Sociology, the network of social connections that exist between people and their shared values and norms of behavior, which enable and encourage mutually advantageous social cooperation. The central premise of social capital is that social networks have value. Social capital refers to the collective value of all social networks and the inclinations that arise from these networks to do things for each other. Putnam. Whereas physical capital refers to physical objects, and human capital refers to the properties of individuals, social capital refers to the connections among individuals. Social networks and the norms of reciprocity and trustworthiness that arise from them. Social capital calls attention to the fact that civic virtue is most powerful when embedded in a sense of network of reciprocal social relations. A society of many virtuous but isolated individuals is not necessarily rich in social capital. The central thesis of social capital theory is that relationships matter. The central idea is that social networks are a valuable asset. Interaction enables people to build communities, to commit themselves to each other, and to knit the social fabric. A sense of belonging and concrete experience of social networks, and the relationships of trust and tolerance that can be involved, can, it is argued, bring great benefits to people. Dr. Robert Putnam, Harvard University. Bowling alone.
Thank you, Dan. I know that was a lot of reading. So, if you can look and see how that would have its application to small communities such as ours, religious in nature, but the term, essentially, is relationships matter, and the inclusion of. And Cohen would say, this is an example of situation crafting, be it a bowling league or a small religious organization. To build that culture requires the history, background, mission, direction of where does that group want to go, as this social combination of skill sets, personality types, ages, demographic, political affiliation. But to have that group social resource is just an incredible, powerful, small groups. You get 10 people in a social network on a particular shared cause. You can do much more in that small group than the isolated individual alone. Or combine that with writers, the artist or the writer or the religious or political philosopher doing their own work, combine that, put them in a group or in a social network, as you can see the building momentum and the assets and resources with that kind of social grouping. So it's a term. This is kind of dense and sounds scholastic. Like a lot of Cohen's work has been in this manner coming out of Stanford. And I'm trying to dial it in and to focus on what aspects of this can benefit us here at the Holton Unitarian Society. And the other four, if you turn the sheet over, to conserve paper, we're double-sided today, and we're not going to spend a lot of time on this. And we've done sermons. I've done sermons on these before around here. adaptive competence, it's just a key of this resiliency, or there's a sermon called the bounce back, the bounce back effect, of having that flexibility, and it's part of that meditation that we did earlier, this holding process of no matter what it is in a group, can a group hold that together without panicking or without reacting to something that comes up that the group needs to address, or an individual in the group is looking for support and they're trying to gain some insight. Maybe they want advice, maybe they don't want advice, but they certainly need support. And that goes on to this positive reinforcement section. And it's a two-way. These are practices that, like an individual reinforcement, is like you reinforce or affirm others, but also the take-back is they reinforce or affirm you. They're linked together in this social capital network. And for Earth Day, even the planet itself, you hear about from astronauts going to outer space and the first view of the planet, that called the overview effect of seeing, they look towards the planet one direction and have this connection or spiritual sometimes experience. There was one astronaut, she looked the opposite direction, away from Earth, out into the space. And one of her comments, she said she felt an infinite connection and support to the entire cosmos. That the pale blue dot, the Earth just below her, hovering from the space station, was just so close by, feeling connection to all the individuals on this planet, just under the craft. But I've never heard anyone say she turned the opposite direction and touched the cosmos. And that's part of this universal reinforcement of the planet itself. And beyond the planet, the cosmos that Carl Sagan is talking about, the billions of suns and exoplanets, they are also sustaining us and touching us in that sense. If you can imagine a fabric or a web or a matrix that vast, this is just one small piece of that social network, in a sense, cosmic social capital. And cognitive restructuring, Mary touched on this last week in the service. Every time you light a candle, Joshua, it's doing this perspective shift, showing the capacity of the human mind and spirit to take any circumstance, and you can take it several options, directions you can go. And difficult one is to give it a twist where you can find connection or a teaching or love or compassion. The most difficult and confusing and chaotic of circumstances in one's personal life, in our community, in our country, or global challenges. And it's a fancy term, cognitive restructuring, which is someone's looking for some terminology that but it's that shift of human consciousness that gives a take on what's going on around us. It's so key to building community, because each one of us have the potential. We have our own take on it and our own contribution to a group, and the wisdom of a group. When I watch you make a spiritual or mental shift in a hard time, that informs me. And if I end up going through a situation like that in the future, I can get, I remember so-and-so. It's wisdom or power or tenaciousness in a situation that I'm not sure I would have. And to work a group in that manner is just an amazing opportunity, no matter what the size of that group is. And my definition of spiritual enlightenment, or the highest, most mature state of the sage or the wisdom, is that category number 4 on the sheet. Equanimity, equipoise. It doesn't mean you don't have likes and dislikes. It simply means you're not attached to your likes and dislikes. It means you have accepted, you've included, you've welcomed into your space and into your mind, and are at peace with all life situations, your own and someone else's. Once again, you're okay with the reality of the moment, whatever that may be. And looking at various wisdom traditions, this would be one of the higher traits of an individual who has reached that point in their life situation. So, I wanted to close with a question. We're not going to spend much time on this. It's like a little a situation. This is Krishnamurti, Indian philosopher who mid-20th century proposed. So here's the situation. And then I'm going to ask you a question. The brain, when faced with violence, undergoes a rapid chemical change. It reacts much quicker than the blow in that situation. One's whole body reacts, and there is immediate response. In the presence of a person who is angry, see what takes place if one is aware of it and does not respond. The moment one is aware of the other person's anger and one does not react oneself, there is, in that instant, a different response. One's instinct is to respond to hate with hate, to anger with anger. There is a welling up chemically which creates in the system the nervous reactions that we get caught by. But quieten all of this in the presence of the anger that is occurring and the chemical swarm in your brain. Quieten all of this and a different action will take place. So here's the question. Out of these 5 practices, and I know we didn't spend much time on any of them, which one of these 5 practices would apply to this situation that Krishnamurti is presenting, running into an argument, running into a situation where there's different views that are opposing, anger comes up, and how do you handle it? Krishnamurti says you can take a different action takes place, because then the normal reaction of anger, reacting to anger, hate, reacting to hate. So we're just going to spend a couple of minutes to toss out, what do you think, which one of these 5 might apply to Krishnamurti's test case? Joshua, take a stab at it. There's no wrong answers here.
I'm so excited that I get to talk. Because since I woke up this morning, I'm like, I really need to say this. And it fits perfectly. So, I know. I started smoking and using tobacco products in high school. I joined the Marine Corps, and my grandfather was a Hell's Angel. My dad was very intense, and I was like, I need to be a tough man, and I'm going to use tobacco to prove to people that I'm doing that. So I would smoke 2 packs a day and go through a can of Copenhagen while I was running, like smoking and running, right? Not yesterday, but last Saturday, I quit using nicotine. And it's been since Saturday. I haven't used it again. And I didn't make a big deal of it. I ran out, just didn't buy any more. And whenever my brain was like, hey, really loudly, this is a need, I would ignore it. I'd be like, you don't have control over me. I'm not giving you authority. And then I would see it like an infant, like a child throwing a fit. And that perspective shift allowed me to have control instead of my mind.
Yeah.
And then it's so much easier. I don't have cravings. It's not it's not a life-shattering event. It's not something I have to be proud of. I don't have to go around and tell people I just quit smoking because it's this huge accomplishment. Because it's not. I took that power away. And I wanted to share that with y'all.
Cool. So did you pick one of those 5?
Yeah, it was the equanimity. The equanimity, because I was like able to be chill with myself, with my own,
Okay. Any other answers out there? There are no wrong answers here. Mary?
I would pick number 4 also. because Einstein says you can't solve a problem on the level of the problem. So if there's somebody angry, the best thing you can do is stay in equanimity and talk decent and.
Okay. There's 2 number 4s. What else do we have?
I think the first thing you need is number 1, because you need to change first, or change your way of thinking like that. But I think it takes a little bit of all of these.
Okay. That's what I was actually looking for.
I don't think it's
There's no right answer because they're all 5 of these work. They cross over. It's pretty hard to just pick one of these. It's helpful to have 5 different terms or vocabulary to be a little bit more specific. But like in this particular case, you got all 5. You could say any one of these 5. Well, maybe not social capital, but 1 through 4. So this is the homework: is take this and just go through those first 4 and see how those would apply, to this case of a difficult conversation. Okay. We do have there's a short congregational meeting after the coffee hour. So I am aware of that, but I really wanted to try that test question out. So thanks for hanging in there.
Let's let me talk again.
So we're going to extinguish the chalice. And our closing words for Earth Day. And now may peace abide with us today and reside within us as if we were at home in this world and in our body, natural and free. The timelessness of this instant flashing and insight that each of us already know, only to forget it 1,000 times. But on the inside, we still know. We are at home in this cosmos. We are a part of it, and it is a part of us. We are everything we need to be on this Earth Day. Thank you all.
We want to thank everybody for tuning in today. If you'd like to show your support, please hit the like button, subscribe to our channel if you're not already subscribed, and help us out by sharing this message by clicking the share button. If you'd like to make a monetary donation to the UU Church Houlton, there is a link to our online donations in the video description down below. And again, thank you so much and have a blessed day.